Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and today is July 24th of 2025. Today we're celebrating Thursday of the 16th week in Ordinary Time. It's also the optional memorial of St. Charbel Maclouf, priest. And today's Gospel comes to us from Matthew's Gospel. It's from chapter 13, verses 10 through 17. The disciples approached Jesus and said, "Why do you speak to the crowd in parables?" He said to them in reply, "Because knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been granted to you, but to them it has not been granted. To anyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. From anyone who has not, even what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because they look but do not see, and hear but do not listen or understand. Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled in them, which says, 'You shall indeed hear, but not understand. You shall indeed look, but not see.' Gross is the heart of this people. They will hardly hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and be converted, and I heal them. But blessed are your eyes, because they see, and your ears, because they hear. Amen, I say to you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it." Today's first reading and Gospel present us with the mystery of God. If you recall in the first reading, the Israelites stationed themselves at the foot of Mount Sinai, and were told that they experience peals of thunder and lightning, a heavy cloud over the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast. Then Mount Sinai was all wrapped in smoke, which rose from it as though from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. The trumpet blast grew louder and louder, while Moses was speaking, and God answering him with thunder. Now this is all the people see and hear of God. In fact, a few verses after this, God specifically tells Moses to warn the people not to come up the mountain to try and see him. There's a divine injunction, a divine commandment, to prevent the people from seeing God. And this in order to protect his transcendence, the fact that he's above and beyond humans. The best that the people could do was to tremble with fear, which nonetheless is a recognition of God's power and his greatness. In the Gospel, though, we come to the fullness of time and to the fullness of revelation brought about in Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus tells his disciples that he speaks in parables because his listeners don't understand. They can't penetrate into the mysterious ways of God's kingdom. And this is interesting, right? Because for us, nowadays, when we talk of mysteries, we mean something that's dark and difficult or even impossible to understand. But the Greek word used in the New Testament, and here in the Gospel, is a technical term, right? It's meant for something unintelligible to an outsider, but something crystal clear to a person who had been initiated. It comes from, that word mystery comes from a Greek phrase meaning to shut the mouth. And it refers to secret rites of initiation into different religious groups or cults. In other words, to the one who has knowledge, the one who's been initiated, everything makes sense. But to those on the outside, everything's confusing and meaningless. So in other words, what does this mean? Well, Jesus uses parables so that his listeners might be able to understand at least something of the mystery. But even in this little, they fall short. And that citation from Isaiah explains why. "Gross is the heart of this people," he says. "They will hardly hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and be converted, and I heal them." What does this mean? Well, the problem isn't with their ears and their eyes. The problem is with their wills. Literally, what's said is, they themselves have closed up their eyes. They've let their ears become heavy, they're drowsy, and they've fattened their hearts to the point of making them unable to perceive anything. And herein lies the lesson for us. As followers of Christ, who are privileged to have been initiated in baptism and to continue growing in our faith, well, knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom has been given to us. Why? Well, in order to better know, love, and serve our God. However, sometimes we can lose sight of this, especially when things don't seem to make much sense. we can fall into the same mistake of the Jews at Christ's time. We can close our eyes and ears to the ways that Christ is calling us. And unfortunately, if we do that, ultimately, we close our hearts to his calls and his goodness. And this, again, is by choice, by an act of our wills. On the other hand, though, if we really surrender ourselves to Christ, then even the most difficult moments, when things make little sense, even in those times, we can at least stand before his majesty and wonder at his designs, just as the Israelites did at the foot of Mount Carmel. So today, through the intercession of Our Lady of Good Counsel, let's ask for the grace to keep our eyes and our ears open to the wonders of God's working. We'll ask for the grace to keep our hearts open to love him.
If you found this video fruitful, please feel free to share it with a friend or family member. Or if you would like to learn more about our missionary priests throughout the world and how to support them, please visit iveamerica.org. Thank you for watching, and God bless.